First tonight, is there a place for statues to key figures from our colonial past? In Plymouth, the council says Sir Francis Drake on the Hoe is staying put, but information about his involvement in the slave trade will be added to the monument. It follows the launch of a petition for the statue to be taken down, as they have been in some other cities. So who was Drake? Well, it's thought Sir Francis Drake was born in Tavistock in 1540, where a statue to him now stands. Drake went on to become the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe, sailing from and returning to Plymouth. Although he wasn't exploring, historians broadly agree his aim was to raid the Spanish. He became very rich and would later go on to be one of the leading naval commanders against the Spanish Armada. His campaigns led him to become a national hero, but Sir Francis Drake and his cousin Sir John Hawkins, another Plymouth local, were involved in starting the English slave trade from Africa. Now, between 1562 and 1567, the pair made 3 voyages to Guinea and Sierra Leone and enslaved up to 1,400 Africans. Well, yesterday, Plymouth City Council announced it would be renaming Sir John Hawkins Square and adding more details to the statue of Sir Francis Drake to reflect his past. Well, there's been a huge response from you to this story, as you'd imagine. David says removing statues is, in effect, redacting history. Well, of course, Plymouth City Council has not said it's removing any statues. What it's doing is changing signage. But David believes a far more positive step would be to erect a statue of William Wilberforce, who was responsible for ending slavery. Well, Patricia and Alan say certainly Black Lives Matter, but we cannot rewrite history. The understanding of history must be supported through education and not vandalism. While Mary thinks we should be concentrating our efforts in stopping the modern-day slavery that is still happening. Things that we can change, says Mary. Thank you for all of those comments. While local historian Lucy MacKeith has extensively researched the history of black and ethnic communities here in Devon, I asked her to tell us about that history and her feeling about recent protests.
My feeling is that we need to listen to stories. History is stories, and it's not one version. And for a long time, if I think of my own education, I was taught about Francis Drake as a swashbuckling adventurer. And there's so much more to his story and to many Devonian stories that we haven't learned. So we need to do some listening.
Really, that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the history of Devon. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's possible to visit Devon with a very sunny view of its history. But I have to say that when I go out and see a large grand house, I often find out that it's built on the profits of slave ownership. And it's not just round the coast, where the boats left from. There's a lot of, it was Devon men who wrote the slave codes in Barbados in the 17th century. And we need to look at that and to understand why that happened in order to understand the position we are in today.
As you said yourself, it's the uncovering of the facts that can alter our view of history. How do we educate people, do you think?
I think we can do it in many different ways. But this is also a question